Hey, welcome to my channel. Today what I'm going to do is go through the design process of how I designed and built a small studio light for my YouTube videos. The reason I did this is because I looked at Amazon and I wanted an extra light for this room for when I recorded these videos, and what I found was everything cost too much money. Too much money. 60, 70 euros just for a light, and more to the point, I wasn't willing to spend it. So what I did was I sat down, I designed it myself and printed it on my small 3D printer and put it together, and it looks great. So what I wanted to do is go through with you on exactly how I did it. Stick around to the end of the video, because what I'll do is go through all the mistakes I made and how the design can be improved. And if there's enough requests in the comments, I'll even post the files online so you can print your own. The first step of the process is to take the light that I bought. It's a little simple LED light, and measure the diameters, the thicknesses, and all the dimensions that I'm going to need to interface this light into my shade design. So taking particular attention of obviously where all the clips are and all the wires, etc. are going to end up. Once I've got that, I've basically sketched it out, put it down on paper, wrote down the diameters and the widths and thicknesses. This helps massively in terms of your efficiency when it comes down to the design process in itself, because it means that you've got all the information right in front of you and you've already started considering how it's going to interface between what you're going to design and what you've just bought. The other option would be to do this on the fly during the design process, but what I found was that's very inefficient and leads often to some mistakes or something that you overlook because you're thinking about something else. So once I've got an idea of what the light looks like and the dimensions, I sketch out the overall shape of what I'm designing. This doesn't need to be a good sketch, as you can see from the screen, but it gives me a good idea of what I'm going to be doing before I open up Fusion 360 to do the actual 3D modeling of it. The overall shape was going to be a dome shape with a diffuser at the front, and what I decided to do is the actual filter was going to have different thicknesses, because the directly in front of the light would have more glare than on the side. So I'm going to use the thicknesses of the plastic to actually give me better diffusion. The last thing I do on my sketch is to put some overall dimensions onto the sketch, which helps me when I go on to Fusion 360, because it gives me an idea of scale. Remember that within CAD, because you've got nothing to refer it to, it's quite difficult to visualize the exact scale. So within Fusion 360, I've started with the diffuser part, the filter. I then drew the section of the actual light shade, which was going to be a revolved body. At this point, I'm starting to think about also how this is going to be printed. And in this case, what I'm going to do is print this upside down, which allows me to print it with no supports and use the least possible amount of filament and print time. Then what I added to this is the cover. This is just going to cover all the clips and the wires of the light that I bought. So exactly the same way, sketched out the profile and did a revolved body. Now looking at it, I added these 30 fins all the way around just to give it a industrial look. This is where the aesthetics of it come in, and I've got to admit I'm not that good at that. So I just added something just to see what it came out like. Then you can see the 1/4 inch UNC threaded hole, which I added so I can fit this light onto a tripod, which it gives me full control over the actual direction of the light when I'm doing my videos. Exported it out of Fusion 360 as a step file and imported it into Bambu Studio, divided up the 3 components and orientated them, as I said before, in what I regarded to be the best possible orientation, which was decided during the design phase. Sliced the file. As you can see, that gave me a print time of just under 8 hours. Sent it to the printer, got the parts off and put them together. So now it's time to have a look at the end result and how it really looks in true life. And whilst I show you around that, I will also explain to you where I see the errors that I made and how this can be improved. So let's have a look at the end result and let me know what you think in the comments. So this is the light, and if I turn it off you can probably see it better. You can see the dome shape that I was talking about, and then the diffuser at the front. It's not very big, it means it can fit into a small room, and I think that gives me quite a big advantage. So now I wanted to go through the 3 or 4 improvements that can be made to the design. One is the attachment to the tripod, which I think should have been a separate part and should not have been part of the end cover. This would have allowed me to basically design different versions, maybe change the angle or even maybe change what I mount the light onto. The second thing is the diffuser at the front, the filter at the front. I think that having an interchangeable filter at the front would have been better, so I could basically print off a thicker version or maybe a different color version to allow me to have a bit more flexibility. The shade part I think should have been printed in slightly thicker plastic. A few more layers would have given me less light dissipation on the side. And the final part is I wish I'd bought a light which had a dimmer, so I could actually adjust the amount of light that comes out of the shade. So overall I'd say it was a successful project. If I were to do it again, I would incorporate those 3 or 4 different changes, but I hope you enjoyed the video and let me know what you thought down below in the comments. Thanks very much, and I'll see you on my next video.